Okay.
And welcome everyone. And we are going to start with the interpretation. Oops, let's see if I can share my screen with that slide. Oh, crud sickle, I thought I had it pulled up. Sorry, folks. Best laid plans in Zoom that aren't going to work. Why is this not pulling
This
up?
is straight vodka, by the way.
Why can I not get this pulled up, Stephen? I'm sorry. I have it in the PowerPoint. I'm trying to share my screen.
I'm trying to share your screen.
Uh-huh.
So launch the PowerPoint.
Hey, who is that guy?
Hello.
Thank God for Stephen.
Right.
A slideshow. Okay, so let me.
Look at this.
Oops, oh no, there we go.
And then, oh.
Tammy.
I'm trying to.
Best kept secret.
Exactly.
Oh, why is it?
I'm sorry, folks.
What?
Oh no.
Jesus, you're cutting into our time. We've got a lot to say. Hey, Barb Cardell, I like your new haircut. It's very chic.
There we go.
Not a haircut. It's all just pinned up.
It looks good though.
Thank you, dear.
There we go. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we can start with the interpretation announcement. Creo que podemos empezar con el anuncio sobre cómo acceder a la interpretación. I'm going to give the message first in Spanish and then I'll follow with English. Hola a todos, queremos anunciar que va a haber interpretación esta sesión. Para poder acceder a la interpretación, si están en una computadora, van a ver un globo terráqueo en la parte derecha inferior de su pantalla. Le dan clic al globo y eligen el idioma en el que quieren escuchar y participar durante esta sesión. Si se están uniendo por medio de un smartphone o una tablet, pueden darle clic en los tres puntitos que ven en la parte inferior derecha de la pantalla. Eligen interpretación de idioma o language interpretation y eligen el idioma en el que quieren escuchar y participar en la llamada. Aquí hay un tercer paso en el que tienen que elegir finalizar o done. Para los presentadores y las personas que vayan a participar, les pedimos que nos apoyen como intérpretes para poder, hablando a un paso moderado y para poderles seguir el paso y honrar lo que están comentando. So now I'm going to go ahead and say the instructions in English. So hey everyone, this session will be interpreted from English to Spanish and Spanish to English if Spanish is spoken. To access interpretation, you're going to see a globe on the bottom right-hand side of the screen if you're on a computer. You're going to click on that globe and select the language you'd like to listen to and participate in during the session. And then if you're joining us through a smartphone or a tablet, you are going to see three dots on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. You're going to click on those three dots, select language interpretation, and then select the language you'd like to listen to and participate in during the session. There's a final step here. You need to click, make sure to click on done after, and you should be all set. So for just a reminder for folks presenting today and moderating today and participating today, to speak at a moderate pace so that we can honor what you're saying and keep up with your pace. And if you could mute the mic when you're not speaking to avoid interference so that we can capture what you're saying as well. And speak loudly and clearly. And with that, we should be all set, and I'll start interpreting just as soon as I.
Thank you, Ellie. And with that, I am going to turn it over to our amazing panelist, Cris Sardina, Tiommi Luckett, and Bryan Jones.
Hey, everybody. This is Cris Sardina. I'm the director of a national sex worker rights organization. So right off the bat, that ought to tell you something. interpreting, you might not want to interpret this, but I could say fuck at a moderate level. I could say it fast, I could say it slow, however you want me to say the word fuck. So anyways, let's get that out of the way. Yeah, Tiommi. My co-presenters are somebody when I first began this. Hi, Olga. When I first thought about presenting at HINAC, was what can we present on, and what about agitators? Because we were we're all agitators, but you know who I thought about selecting to ask, would you please present on this panel with me? You know, I have some of the agitators in this room, you know, people see us and they go clear across the other room or the other side of the room. They either roll their eyes sometimes or they go, oh God, here they come. I hope they don't talk to me. So, you know, it's a real honor to work beside my co-presenters for so many years. Tiommi Luckett has been my friend for many years. I've marched in the streets with her in New Orleans. I've ran up to the podium ready to rumble with her, saying whose ass we got to kick. You know, and Bryan Jones. I mean, like I said in the green room, he's the only one I know that dresses to the nines in 190-degree heat to go get arrested off the Senate floor with us fighting for health care. And we won that day. So, and Marco Castro Bajorquez was supposed to present with us, and I don't know how much I could say about that today, because Marco and I were very good friends off, you know, on and off the activism floor. And I will forgive him for stealing my banana 2 years ago at AIDS Watch. So I'm going to let that go. And, you know, have a little laugh about that, because 2 years is a long time to hold on to a banana. But hey, I'm a sex worker and you might want to find something in that. So anyways, you know, it's a real, I know Marco was literally looking forward to this and asked me, you know, he emailed all of us, what should we do? Should we have a PowerPoint? Should we? I was like, no, man, this is just a, you know, real casual conversation with some people that I admire very much, that don't take no shit, don't play respectability politics. Bryan Jones, I'm looking at you. You know, and make people think, you know, kind of rush the gatekeepers as well, you know. It's like, you know, make people think outside of the box, or make people, you know, rethink maybe their strategy, because we're all criminalized. No matter what you think of sex work or prostitution, however you want to define it, it's about us all being criminalized at an equal level, you know, being killed, being you know, being killed for who we are, being, you know, and it intersects across all those movements. I mean, Tiommi actually sits on the board of Desiree Alliance, because you know, I respect her work in trans progression and trans rights, and Bryan Jones, you know, I respect him for always, you know, being in the room and not leaving the room, and making sure, you know, he's the one that'll say, I'm in the room. You don't like it? There's the door and you can leave the room. And so, you know, sometimes we need agitators in advocacy, because the revolution wasn't started by saying please and thank you. You know, the revolution was started by people in the streets, the people that says hell no. So, you know, to carry on this revolution, whenever I speak to a politician, I don't say, I tell them, hey, you work for us. You work for us. And and we voted you in, and we could vote you out. And so, I keep them on their toes where everybody's playing respectability politics and begging and hoping and a dreaming. I check them into reality and say, hey, you work for us. When, we've stood, and with Tammy Hott, I've stood on the Capitol steps with her protesting Kavanaugh, and with and Barb Cardell sitting there sharing a jail cell with her in two jails. And so, I'm gonna go ahead and, those who know me know exactly who I am when I walk into that room. And with my co-presenters, we gravitated toward each other when we met. There's something about that, that, hey, you got the smell of agitator on you. And we have remained good friends, and we've got each other's back on this. And so I'm going to turn it over to Tiommi to speak a little bit about that. And I love you, Tiommi, and I've always got your back, and I stand right beside you.
Thank you so much, Cris. Hi, everybody. I am Tiommi Luckett. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I am the Communications and Training Assistant at PWN. So I met Cris at HINAC, and I remember sitting on stage with Cris for one of the plenaries, and I was so nervous. And like basically what comes up comes out, because at that time I had no filter. So one thing that I said that Cris constantly reminded me of was, if I'm not in the room, if my people are not in the room and you are, then you damn well better speak up for us, right? And so Cris asked me to join Desiree Alliance after that, right? And so I made it to the Desiree Alliance conference in New Orleans, where she talked about we marched in the streets, which we did. And so like there's advocacy, there's activism, and there's agitation, right? And I have done the first two. I continue to do the advocacy part, right? The education piece. The activism is a little bit where we got to like, you know what? We're not getting their attention. We need to make a statement. And the agitation, I'm just fucking fed up right now of the same status quo, right? And so more often than not, anytime that you've seen me on stage with a microphone in my hand, it wasn't because of anything that happened to me. It was because of like what happened to my community in my presence, right? And for me, like I'm not of that passability bullshit or the respectability politics. Like I tried all of that. I did. And I realized that my community wasn't getting anywhere. And so we had to get louder. We had to do the data part. We had to go to the White House. We had to turn it out in the White House, right? Because the ABC offices thought that they could tell us about our lived experience. Well, then why the hell did you invite us if you're not going to listen to us, right? And so you're just not gonna do that to a bunch of trans women of color living with HIV, just struggling within the margins to have access to services that we really need, right? And for some of those women in the room, it touched my heart because HIV was their saving grace, right? They became stably housed. They had access to services. They had access to hormones, and all of the things that we need to actually like live a quality of life that is great, right? And so my advocacy and my agitation comes from being just fed up, just being fed up. Like, you know what? I tried it. I tried it y'all's way. It just didn't work. And so more often than not, like anytime that I have a microphone in my hand, that's because somebody has really done something to the people that I respect. It has broken them down, like they're crying to me, and I can't take that. I seriously can't take that. That's my one reaction. Okay, now it's time to fight. Like Cris said, whose ass we got to kick, right? And it just so happens that it's been like in the space where we're all together and we have the group agreements, you know, like we put out the literature, letting people know who's going to be there, what we expect. And sometimes people just come with their own agendas in mind. And so for me, I'm like, I'm just not having it. Like yesterday during the opening, I had a whole like 3-4 paragraphs that I wanted to read about it being a safe space. But I've also talked about how I don't believe in safe spaces. I believe in brave spaces, right? I believe in those brave spaces. We allow people the room that they need to speak. We allow people to be separate when need be, right? Without people just like trying to interfere with what's going on with, let's just say, the people of color or the Black people or the white people, right? However you want to divide it up. I think that everybody needs their own space in here so that they can debrief, right? And so when those opportunities don't happen, like I'm just like on 10. I'm on 10. And so today you get Tiommi, you know, like no makeup, come ready, you know, come ready. And so after that, I will pass it on to Bryan. And like Cris said, like Bryan is one that I've sat on panels with and just gives you the real. We're in actual videos together, documentaries that will be coming out. And anytime that I'm around Bryan, I know that I can be myself because he's going to give me the real. So Bryan Jones.
Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing? I first met Cris and Tiommi at the first HiNAC, and Cris got on the stage and her first line was, "I don't have control over my own pussy." I knew then when she said that we would be the best of friends. I was like, oh my God, who is that girl? So I'm not really into pronouns, but my pronoun that people use for me is MF. So that's my pronoun, MF. They're not gonna say it to my face, but when I walk away, they're gonna say that motherfucker right there. So I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna take it and own it. My thing is, I don't consider myself an agitator because this fight began with people who were telling the truth, who fought hard. So I am just a person who's working to change the culture of being politically correct. You know, it's like everybody wants to play nice in the sandbox. When my mother brought me this truck, I could knock you over the damn head and go home from the sandbox. I don't have to play nice in the sandbox. A lot of people take me personal, but I'm talking about issues. If you just happen to be the person on the front line of that issue, I'm sorry. And for most people, if you don't know my walk, then you won't understand my fight. You know, I'm a person who's been thriving with age. I'm going into my 38th year. I've had cancer 3 times, with the worst being stage 4, chained to a prison cell. And after 38 years, if I don't have something to say, then something is wrong. Like I said, we try to do everything politically correct. Everybody is trying to be a stakeholder because nobody wants to step on anybody's toes. And people want you to be nice. But I work from this standpoint. If I have to be uncomfortable in the room, everybody in the whole damn room is going to be uncomfortable. Audre Lorde says, your silence doesn't protect you, nor does my silence protect me, so it's better to speak. It should be no surprise that Black folks are most impacted by HIV and AIDS because we're most impacted by everything. One person wanted to interview me because they said, oh, I heard you were angry. Why do I have to be considered the angry Black man in the room? I said, well, maybe everybody needs to be a little more angry. Just because you have a perception of me being angry, that's not who I am. It's about doing what's right. The person wanted to interview me based on that. And needless to say, the story didn't come out because they said, they seemed to be a little disappointed because I thought you would be a lot more angry. Okay, so I don't get that. I create my own space. I do the DIRT advocacy movement, and DIRT is an acronym for direct, inspiring, reachable, and teachable. It's conversations for Black folks that look like us, live like us, talk like us, because you got to cultivate the dirt before the grass can grow. Like I said, I've been thriving with age for 38 years. And I've been advocating probably half that time, even before I knew what advocacy was. And I'm tired of going into a room where people say, like Wahida Shabazz, who's also a hell of an agitator too. Wahida says, if you're not at the table, then you're on the menu. And we're always on the menu, but I take it a step further. El Haj Malik Shabazz, who we know as Malcolm X, says, you're not considered a diner just by sitting at the table. You've got to eat something to become a diner. And we that people call agitators are those people who eat everything on the goddamn plate and say, I'll finish your shit if you're not gonna finish it. We take up our fight and we take up everybody else's damn fight. It's like when you walk into a situation and somebody's jumping on your family, you don't stop and ask who's right or wrong. You just jump in and say, hell no, I'm fighting for my family. I don't need to know who's right or wrong. I just need to know that this is not a fair fight going on. We can talk about right or wrong later on, but I'm gonna stand by those people who stand by me. And I'm gonna just say this, we talk about MIPA, meaningful involvement of people living with HIV and AIDS. We don't even have meaningful involvement in our own community because we have the have and the have-nots, those who speak for this group and those who speak for that group. I don't belong to anybody's group. I will tell one group the truth and say the same shit to the other group and not really care. I believe in saying what everybody in the room is thinking. And like Cris said, if I'm in the room, you gotta leave. Like they say in Hamilton, I wanna be in the room when it happens. Trust I'm gonna be in the room when it happens. And Tiommi said, when you see me with a microphone, when my mouth is so loud, none of us need microphones. Fuck it, you don't want to give me the microphone? Fine, you keep that microphone. I ain't gonna tell you what you can do with that microphone, but I'm gonna say what I need to say. And a lot of times, a lot of people think that I'm just, he's just crass and rude. I know when to hold him and when to fold him. I made a conscious decision to be that person that rubs you the wrong way, because more than likely, you're gonna remember somebody who rubbed you the wrong way to then somebody who was nice. And I don't believe in kissing ass. You know, tossing salads might be fine, but I'm not trying to kiss any ass, so to speak. And I think in another way, we've got to have, somebody, is that the interpretation saying shut up? I hear something in the background. But I think a lot of times, I like to make jokes of things. You know, I constantly say some things that may rub people the wrong way, but we've got to learn to laugh at ourselves and not take this thing so serious. And in closing, I just want to say that it's all about the fight. We're in this together. We hear the phrases, nothing about us without us. Well, we as Black people and as Black men have got to be wary of programs that claim to be about us, for us, but don't include us. And a lot of times, many programs really don't include us. And I'm gonna be the one person in the room that said, hell no. So Cris, is back onto you.
You're muted. Oh, you're still muted, Cris.
It's a shame she doesn't have control of her own pussy and she can't even control the soundboard.
Okay, that's because I'm gonna blame the host on this. They wouldn't unmute me, and that happens a lot. Like
Chris, I was gonna mute you.
mute my ass, but that happened. But like as I was gonna actually mention that, Tiommi, that's something that I have never forgot is and it is stuck with me with everything I do. If I'm not in the room to defend myself or to speak for myself, you damn well better be up there speaking for me and defending my rights to be. And the same with Bryan Jones. I forgot about that pussy comment. You know, but when I first walked into this movement, you know, even within this movement, we sex workers had, you know, people had forgotten about the history of sex worker and HIV, how we were one of the only ones to hold these dying men's hands and take care of them as they lay dying. I lived in a prominently gay male neighborhood in West Hollywood, and it was the best well-kept secret in the 80s, you know. I help men put on makeup at night so that you can see their lesions. Watch them drastically lose weight. Watch them not talk about it. It was the gay cancer. It didn't even have a name yet. And so, that and me being a fag hag and they paying me, because back in those days, even in the early 80s, you couldn't really be out if you were in a prominent position. So, they would hire me, and I was young and beautiful, and had a slamming ass body. And so they would hire me to go to these events, And so, it was an eye opener as well, because I was young. I was like, 19, 20, 21, something like that. And, to realize that some people can't be who they are. And so that was a big thing to me at the beginning of my activism. I've been an activist, an unapologetic, radical activist for nearly 40 years. And so, I'm at the point where I don't have to take anybody's crap. I'm not gonna take anybody's crap. You want to gatekeep me, I will roll right over you.
I do have is my mic on? Okay,
Yeah.
I do have one of the most memorable moments from the first HINAC is when the senator came to speak about them passing the law. And he got up and we were in the room and he kept saying, I really want to thank the Negroes. And I said, what did he just say? And he said, it's because of the Negroes that we are able to do this. And I'm like, I clutched my pearls and I'm looking around like, no wonder they passed the law. They're still calling us Negroes here. And then I thought about it. I was getting ready to turn the room out. And then I said, oh, he's saying Nick Rhodes, not Negroes. Nick Rhodes. I was looking around at every Black person in the room. He did not just say Negroes. He's not, because of the Negroes, we're able to pass this law. So that was a memorable moment I will always remember at the first time. I told everybody that evening when we went out to drink and they fell out. I would have felt so bad. Did you call us Negroes? I just had to share that.
That's as bad at AIDS Watch, where the CDC director, what's his name, called everybody infected, kept, and I'm thinking here, and somebody got up and said, quit calling us infected and run that guy out on a rail. Here's the head of the CDC. It's like, get the fuck out of here. If you don't know the difference between transmission and infected, you need to walk out the door. But one of the things, when I first came in to HINAC is, I forgot about that pussy remark, and that was the first thing I said. And people went, whoa, oh my God.
Bob says she has a video of that, though.
Hey, but I've been known to lift up my skirt, so, y'all, I was restrained. And so one of the things, how movements intersect is, I finally, I call it my foot in the door theory. You get your foot in the door and you squirm that fat ass right through it, and then you don't leave, and then you let them know you're in the room. And so, one of the things that, how we kind of been silenced completely out of the HIV movement, other than people saying, oh, I know a few prostitutes, that's not the same as fighting for my rights. And because I'm up there fighting with you for your rights, like Tiommi said, you best be fighting for me. And there was so much stigma, even within the sex worker rights movement, on HIV and AIDS, and nobody talks about it, and in this movement, in the HIV movement at HINAC, and like Bryan said, we helped build this goddamn table, so you can eat on it, eat at it, on it, around it, near it, by it, we helped build this table because of my foot in the door theory. It's like, you can't ignore us any longer. We're here, we're criminalized and just as bad, with enhancements. If you're working with HIV, in a lot of states with felony enhancements, 2 condom laws. I mean, just for working with your body, we're criminalized. So, that's something that we all have to look at, is we've got so much more in common than we do not. And, I've had people look at me like I was something that crawled out from, under their shoe. And after a few beers, I look at them like, I don't need any, any judgment. You want to judge me? Judge over there. I don't need your bullshit. I've got work to do. Who wants
But
to
it's a lot of times, it's a thin line. I tell a lot of women, you want to talk about prostitution and sex workers. What you're doing is sex work. You got one guy to pay for your nails, another guy to pay for your hair, another guy to do this and do that. It's the same damn thing. You're using these men and you're not realizing it. And that's the sad part about it. Yours is not intentional. And you're placing blame on other people. And we do the same thing by considering us as agitators. It's the same thing, putting those people over there, those people who do this. But this table was created for all of us to have our own space. All of us are needed in order to create the whole pie. You need those shit starters who are gonna say what they need to say, and then you can use that, say, well, see, he's over there doing that, but da-da-da. You have to make it work to your advantage. And if it wasn't for us shit starters, there would be no shit for you to clean up. But I don't need you to clean my shit up, because it's gonna keep coming. I'm gonna keep slinging it and slinging it and slinging it. So you might as well not clean it up, because there's gonna be shit everywhere before the party's over. So, but you say that we each need each other. We're a vital part of each other, and there's a place for us, and we're all needed, or this fight won't. But you've got to honor what we say and give it just as much worth, because this whole thing, if you think about it, the Denver principles was looked upon as being some shit-starting principles, because a lot of people felt like that if you had an HIV diagnosis, that you shouldn't be having sex. And it ends saying we have a right to a healthy sex life. And they're like, oh shit, here go these people who created the principles in which this whole thing was built on. So.
Tiommi, you wanna chime in there?
Well, I was just sitting up thinking about, one of the things that I was thinking about was, I at one point did not want to identify as a sex worker, not even having done it in the past, right? Because of the stigma that was attached to it. And so I didn't really pay attention to how my just existence caused so many opportunities for me to be criminalized, right? And so I started thinking about how I could just be walking down the street to go to the store. It's 98 fucking degrees here. I'm just going 2 blocks, right? So I'm gonna be comfortable. Well, in the time that it takes me to get to the store, guys are blowing their horns, guys are stopping as if this is the stroll. And I'm like, you know what? Play it all the way through. There are police that ride up and down this street too. So if a guy is simply just giving me a ride, right, because I have bags of groceries, then in that cop's eyes, because he's been watching me, that I'm a sex worker, right? And so basically—
And they have laws for that, manifestation.
Yes, walking while trans, all of those things, right?
Yes.
So yeah, the intersectionality of my existence, my just being here with you guys today, puts me at high risk of being criminalized. And so like Bryan was saying, we need everybody. We do, we need everybody. Yes, I identify as trans. Yes, I identify as a trans woman living with HIV. And I have fought for a whole lot more than that.
Yes,
I really have,
yes,
simply
yes.
because I was allowed access into the room. And so a lot of people didn't know who they were getting, because Passability came into it, like respectability politics. I was new on the scene, right? They thought that they could mold me and did not know that I was my own thinking individual. And when shit didn't sound right to me, I voiced that. So I was in the meetings before the meetings, I was in the meetings, I was sometimes the only trans person fighting all of these cis people, right? I mean, like I put my blood, sweat, and tears into advocacy. And so when I realized that that wasn't working, I'm like, okay, I have to get a little louder, because just like Bryan said, I became labeled as the angry Black trans woman. Well, I had a lot of shit to be angry about, especially when I'm listening to how this group gets services that this group needs. You know, how does that work? How will we end the HIV epidemic if people don't have access to the services that they need? And so my advocacy stemmed from like I didn't want people to go through what I went through when I learned about my diagnosis, right? But I've been agitating all my fucking life, like at home, fighting to be who I said that I was. And even today, at 43 years old, my siblings who are older still think that this is a phase. Well, 22 years in the making and counting, I gave them the opportunity that they needed to transition along with me. So right now I'm at this point where if you can't respect me, fuck you.
I have a question for Tiommi, and there was also a question in the chat. When you say you've been agitating all your life, is it really agitating or just speaking up for who you are and what you're entitled to? You know what I mean?
If we go by the definition, you know, I'm pretty sure I've pissed off quite a few people in speaking up for my rights. So they were agitated.
Right. So they're really the agitators. We're really the calm ones because we're keeping it real. You know, and somebody asked the question, why do we feel people always say because they do. They always try to say, well, you're really angry right now. And so maybe you need to calm down. Fuck that. I don't need to calm down. You know, they kill me when they try to patronize you like that and say, okay, you're kind of angry right now. No, I'm not angry. I'm just telling you, I don't tolerate bullshit. And a lot of people tolerate bullshit. So go ahead. I just want to throw that out to you.
And that's true. That's true. A lot of people do tolerate it.
To tolerate literally means putting up with something. You don't have to tolerate anything, you know, and that's the literal meaning of tolerate, to put up with something. And
people want to say little side shit to you, like you didn't catch that shit. You know, like, wait a minute, are you trying to read me? You know, they will try to read you on the slide. You know, like throw shade, you know, like undirectional shade, like, no, wait a minute, I catch every damn thing. I'm not gonna let you read me on the slide. You know, and a lot of people are not used to, just like when someone comes to say, how are you feeling today? And you say, well, I'm not feeling too damn good. They're like, oh, what? This makes you say pretty good. Or if they ask you, you eating a bag of potato chips, they say, can I have some? And they already got their hand in the bag and you say, no, put it back. They take it for granted. So they take who you are for granted as being somebody who's gonna play nice. So go ahead.
You know, and a lot of people don't realize where sex workers' rights have been. I mean, we've been to the White House where you know, everybody has a picture of me flipping something off, you know, and I have been around the White House, that little circle, and went, fuck you, to all of them. You know, all of them. We've been to the United Nations. We've been to the United Nations 3 times fighting for our rights. You know, we've been, I've spoken at the Women's March, not just the Women's March, but the Women's March. You know, we're in reproductive rights. We're in LGBTQI, you know, rights. We're in immigrant rights. We're in, you know, because we're in economic justice. We're in environmental justice. We're in, you know, we're in so many, you know, places, because there's one of all of us. Someone you love is a sex worker. And, you know, we're not just a one-sided coin here. We're everywhere.
And if people know us, if they know us personally, we're all lovable people. you know, I will cuss you out one minute to be ha-ha with you the next minute, but I won't cuss you about you. I will talk about the issue. And you just happen to be the person who gets all the brunt of it. And then in the same vein, I'm laughing with you because I'm not taking it personal. And you shouldn't take it personal because we're all fighting about the issue. I've got you, just like Tiommi. I've seen Tiommi turn whole positive living out. Turn the whole room out in an uproar because someone wronged one of her sisters. I mean, literally, what's going on? Turned the whole room out. And you couldn't even say, wow, this one woman just shut the whole thing down. Made everybody
where that
there was
comes
not
from.
a clink of a plate, a glass, or nothing. People stopped mid-sentence with food in their mouth. They didn't want to chew because they was afraid to chew too loud.
I don't know where that comes from, but it's true. It's not just like in these places, like anytime that people see a side of me that they're not used to, like they stop what they're doing and they're like, who fucked up? You know, because that's not Tiommi. Who fucked up? But we do have some questions, and that was a perfect segue. D. Connor asked me, was there ever a time when I didn't speak up for myself? And I would say, like, when I first got into advocacy, because I didn't know what was going on. I was just simply being asked to be at places and speak about me, right? And so, like, there were comments that were made because here's this new trans woman on the scene. And, you know, for all intents and purposes, a lot of people still saw me as like a man in a dress. And so when those comments came to me, I didn't speak up about that because they were directed at me. But fast forward a year or two, now I'm around community, right? And I see that I'm not alone. Right. And everything that people have done to me, they've been doing to them too. And so for me, I didn't have community when I was growing up, when I transitioned, when I'm trying to figure shit out, there was no one there to guide me. So I had to have tough skin, right? People didn't like what I was doing. They didn't like the way that I looked. They didn't like the way that I presented. They didn't like anything about that, right? And so I had to have like real tough skin. I got in a lot of fights. And so I've always been one to be like, oh, you want to fuck up my face? So I got to beat that ass. You know what I'm saying? Before you try to come for my face, I'm gonna have to get you. So I came into advocacy really scared. I was really scared, didn't know what I could do. And a lot of the things that I was saying, like on social media, people were paying attention to, and a lot of people didn't want to work with me, right? And I found that out like years later, you know, like while I was on my rant about still not trans, hashtag still not trans, right? I was calling out all of the people who called trans people pedophiles and sexual deviants, who were actual fucking pedophiles and sexual deviants in high places, right? And so like I spent like the better part of a year on social media calling out all of these freaking hypocrites. So that still wasn't me talking, you know, speaking up for myself. It was me speaking up for my community. Pretty much shit can roll like water off a duck's back when you throw it at me. But just don't catch me on the wrong day.
So there's another question in the chat. Someone made a comment about, well, there were two. One, JD said that sometimes people often patronize us because I don't know if they're scared of us, but they just don't want to be the brunt of our rant or our anger. So they patronize us instead of just disagreeing and saying that I disagree and let's talk about this. And because a lot of times the reason why we are so vocal and so adamant is because you don't want to hear our side of the story, or you don't want to give it relevance. That's why we come at you like, oh, you're gonna hear me. You may not want, you don't want to give me the mic. You don't want to call on me. You want to say, oh, we're going to save that till the end. No, I want to talk about it now. All of a sudden, you want to shut the conversation down when it's my turn to talk. Well, let it shut down after me. So that's why the conversation, the disagreement, I mean, the real conversation can't be had because they don't put credence or they don't give our opinion equal weight. And they don't even want to hear it because they think they speak for us. And another question that was asked, we should answer, it says, how can a person who wants to be outspoken, but can't be outspoken because of living conditions or the community they live in? There's other ways you can be a part of a coalition and not be upfront. You can help make phone calls anonymously. You can stuff letters. You can help raise money. You can do some things you can do and live vicariously through supporting those other people who are out in the front. So y'all might want to chime in on that. So
that's true. I mean, like since 2018, I really haven't been out front. Not to say that I've stopped doing any of the work, but I myself have not been out front. I did that on purpose. You know, being out front put a lot of pressure on me. People expected things of me, right? And so, like, because of mental health and just physical exhaustion, like I wasn't always able to deliver. And so when you get to an opportunity, get to a point where you start saying no, because you need to take care of yourself, then, you know, people, they show you their true colors, right? They show you their true colors, but I don't care. I still got to take care of me. I really do. I have to take care of me, because if I'm empty, I can't pour anything into you. I really can't. So I'm gonna take steps back when I need to. I'm going to step forward when I need to. You know, but in the whole time I was still doing the work, because I was training up other trans women to be, you know, visible, to do this work, to present their issues and their findings. That was my role over like the last 3 years. So yesterday was like my first big coming out all over again.
You were fabulous doing it too.
And I did, you know, I really tried. And so it was like me stepping back onto the scene, you know, but those principles are still there. I'm still not here for the bullshit. I'm not.
And you said that. You made that very clear.
Very clear from the beginning. You know who your host is. You know that your hosts don't go for that. So it costs you nothing to be a decent human being. And so that goes for not only our time like in here together, but like outside on social media. When it's pertaining to this conference, respect people. We're not playing respectability politics, but you will respect people.
Right. But there is another question, and I think Cris is a perfect example of this. You said, but she's also the other side of it too. It says, does a person always have to be so vocal to have their point heard? And my point is, you start your own shit. That's why she started, you know, her own initiative. No, you don't have to be so vocal, because at the time, after so much trying to fight to get in, you say, fuck them. I'm going to start my own shit. That's why I got to kiss nobody's ass. And I'm going to do the work that's equally important to the community that I feel that it's important to. And I think that's what we all do as so-called agitators. We don't wait. And see, we're tired of asking permission to do the shit that we want to do. We don't need to ask permission, because it's about it's about our lives, personally about our lives. And people say, well, you're taking the, well, I have to take this part because it's about my damn survival. So
how many years were sex workers swept under the rug? Well, we were on the front lines from the beginning. You know, and nobody wants to talk about sex work, because the stigma within every movement is just horrific. I mean, talk about weight on your shoulders, Tiommi. The weight and the stigma. Well, you know what? I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, and I'm a great grandmother. And I'm a sex worker. And I just tell people, you're not going to dismiss me, because, you know, you're not going to dismiss my personhood because of, you know, how I labor with my body. I refuse to let you do that. And, you know, I'm not going to do that. I mean, you know, we were so silenced, even at the first HINAC. I had to, you know, like Bryan said, I don't need that fucking microphone. They'd see me and go the other way around, and I'd be standing up, raising my hand. Give me that microphone. Give me that microphone. You know what? I don't need that, because I've got a real loud voice, and I've sat up on that stage, and I've sat in that audience, and I don't need a microphone, because I have a real loud voice, and it carries far. So, you know, you don't have to give me that microphone to speak out about it. And yes, you know, I have to be loud, because if I'm not loud, I get swept under the rug. and my rights don't get centered in every conversation that you've had. And I'm done with that shit.
And you know, a lot of times people think we do it for attention, but there's to being that person who speaks up, we catch a lot of hell. We even catch hell from the people that we're speaking up for.
Thank
you. know, the people will talk about us, and I'm speaking for your goddamn right. This ain't my fight right here, but you're the one who talking shit about me, but I'm speaking up for some shit that's affecting you. And instead of you supporting me, you want to talk about some other shit, you know, and that's what happens. We catch a lot of flack from being the person who's speaking up about what's right. And a lot of people think there is nothing fun about this. There's nothing fun of people pointing and say, oh shit, here we come again. Here come that, then they use my pronoun. Here comes that MF again. So that's why I claim it. But I mean, we hurt too. People don't think we hurt. Sometimes we go home and we cry and say, fuck these motherfuckers. Nobody cares, but I'm talking about what's right. And y'all shit are talking about some bullshit. Trying to help everybody else feelings, protect people's feelings. Excuse me, y'all.
You're right.
When I get into my Ethel Merman voice, you know, I'm at that agitated point where I start sounding like Hello Dolly.
I sounded like Brian Jones.
Oh, you just made me forget what I was about to say.
No, I sound like, what's the lady, Carol Channing? I kiss on the cheek, can't be quite touching. When my voice gets to that point, you know, get the fuck out of my way.
Yeah. Oh my God, I completely lost it.
I'm sorry. But I'm not.
Oh my God. Okay, so what brought that on, Cris?
Ooh, I can remember, like Bryan said, there's people that's turned on us, the ones who we're speaking up for, and I could remember, seeing Tiommi's face up there going, man, I ain't gonna let that shit happen. I mean, I'm almost like 60 years old. I'm running up to that stage ready to rumble. Who we gotta rumble? Oh, the old church ladies, I'm down for it.
That's what you were talking about, it being personal, right? And so all of those personal attacks from people who are associated with religion, like all of that came flooding back, right? And so people don't understand that we come into these places with untreated trauma, right? So I'm not here for your bullshit. I'm sorry, I'm just not. So if you feel comfortable enough taking me to my dark place, I'm gonna feel comfortable bringing you right along with me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'll drag you to hell with me.
Okay, so, but at the same time, like I never wanted to be seen as a person that's not approachable, because we can sit down and talk like human beings, right? We can. And Bryan mentioned that. But like, if I'm one of the people that when you see me coming, you're like, oh shit, then so be it. So be it, because what that really says to me is that you know that you have work to do. You're lazy, you don't want to do the work, and that Tiommi is going to call you out on not doing the work, right? So one thing that I've learned since I've been one of these master facilitators is the art of calling people in, right? And so I've tried it all. I've tried it all. I've done the call out versus the call in, pulling somebody to the side, just me and them. Hey, yo, when you said that was really fucked up. Like I felt it, you know what I'm saying? And so, and that may not be how you meant it, but I'm telling you how I perceived it and how other people may have perceived it as well. So moving forward, there's that teachable moment. But at the same time, damn well that Tiommi is not having this shit. So if I am one of the people that you look at and be like, oh, here comes this bitch, so be it, because I'm sorry, I just feel like it. I said it yesterday and I'll say it again. It costs absolutely nothing to be a decent human being, right?
Right.
I've learned, my thing is how I started to thrive in this thing. I stopped letting other people's shit be my shit. If you can't do it, that's your shit. I'm not, a lot of times, I was into people pleasing, and a lot of times not doing things because I was wanting to protect somebody else, but I end up hurting because of it. I had to, if I wanted to survive and be healthy, I had to quit making your shit be my shit. Right. If I put it out there and you can't handle it, then that's your shit. I'm sorry, but that is your shit. I can't take on that burden. Now, I am compassionate, and I do show compassion for other people, and I do understand other people's things, but you want me to understand your shit, but you don't want to even think about my shit, and it all stink in the end, Right. So I mean, it's a mute respect. Just because my shit, it looks different than yours, you feel like that your respect is all right. But what I'm talking about is something that's dirty or nasty. No, a sin is a sin, or wrong is wrong, and right, you can't clean yours up and want to point fingers at mine.
Ooh, clean up your own stuff.
And I really think that's why, that's why, like Cris saw to call us agitators, like it does take a certain amount of empathy. Because like you really take on other people's shit. When you get to the point where you're so fed up and you make everybody listen, that's because you've taken on so much of other people's problems, right? They see you as someone who can work towards solutions. And so I just want to offer a little pushback and say that, like, I'm very empathetic. There are times when I don't give a shit to be sympathetic towards you, but like when you tell me what's going on, like I take that on, and I can't help that. So that's just part of like my DNA.
Yeah, and I think when I mean other people's shit, I'm talking about the bullshit. Because
miss me with that.
We take on the fight about community because it's not about us. Because many of us who are advocates and activists know how to get through this shit. Yeah, we are pretty set. It's those other people.
It's the babies.
Other people who can't talk, who don't know that we fight because we're fine. I'm cool with this. I can go home, close my damn door, and not have to worry about shit. But my heart won't. Because like you said, Tiommi, I don't want people to have to go through what I went through. Yeah. And as a Black person in America, HIV is not the only thing we deal with. I deal with being Black first. HIV is down the line somewhere. I have to deal with all these other isms. I'm Black. I am an Orthodox Muslim. I'm same gender loving. So when I come in the door, I got so much shit. I'm pulling bags and bags and bags when I come in the door. I don't have issues. I got issues. I got a lot of issues that I got to hire a valet to carry all that shit. So I can't blame it all on HIV. I came with some bullshit before HIV even hit the picture. So.
Well, we have 2 minutes left.
I'm so glad I invited you all to be on this panel.
I just want to say before we close that we are all on Hoover. So if any questions that didn't get answered, please feel free to hit us up privately on Hoover because we absolutely couldn't get to Hoover. We absolutely couldn't get to all the questions, but I do want to thank everybody who came. We had 38 people, I think, at its height. And so that was really, really good. Thank you so much for being here, Cris. Thank you for inviting me. Bryan, always thank you for just keeping it real.
Yeah. Sorry for talking too much.
We ain't you don't need no microphone or no Zoom meeting. I can hear you from Ohio.
I don't have headphones or anything. Y'all heard me clearly.
I love you all. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on this panel. And Marco, you would have whined yourself.
Marco was here in spirit.
I know.
Definitely. Whined himself. He whined himself to people would roll their eyes and go, "Oh my God, if you just shut up, I will give it to you." I love Marco. We miss you, and thank you guys so much for being on the panel with me.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you all for showing up. And sorry, Rosa, we didn't get to you, but they're cutting us off, Once again.
Tiommi, Luckett, same thing. Hit me up on Hoover.
I'm on Horva, Cris Sardina.
You can find my contact information on any public restroom wall across America.
How did I get in this conversation? Wait, what you talking about me for? Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you so much.
Bye. See y'all later.
Okay.
Oh my God, that was hysterical.